It was late at night, city lights had dimmed, and the streets had fallen silent. Everyone had retreated to their homes, and the streets were deserted. After a tiring day, Amit decided to go for a nighttime walk to clear his mind. The cool air would do him good. As he walked with calm steps, his path eventually led him to the city park. In the darkness of the night, the park had taken on an eerie atmosphere. The shadows of the trees formed strange shapes, and the rustling of the wind echoed in his ears. Despite the unease, Amit continued walking. As he reached the middle of the park, he suddenly heard a strange sound. It resembled crying. Amit listened closely and began to follow the sound. It was coming from deep within the park. Driven by curiosity, Amit kept moving toward the source of the sound. After a while, he arrived at the source of the sound. In the most secluded corner of the park, there was an old bench with a woman sitting on it. The woman had her head in her hands and was sobbing uncontrollably. Amit wanted to approach and ask if she was okay, but the woman suddenly lifted her head and looked at Amit. There was an indescribable fear in her eyes. With a trembling voice, the woman screamed, "Run away! He's coming!" While trying to understand what the woman meant, Amit felt a cold wind envelop him. At that moment, he realized he wasn't alone in the park. A dark silhouette started to emerge from between the trees. Amit's heart began to race. Without a second thought, Amit turned and started to run. His steps quickened, but he felt the shadow behind him closing in at the same speed. When he finally exited the park and reached the street, he was out of breath. But he didn't dare stop. He kept running. Finally, he arrived at his best friend Mehmet's house. He knocked on the door frantically, and when Mehmet opened it, Amit rushed inside. After locking the door and taking a deep breath, he told Mehmet what had happened. Mehmet tried to calm Amit down, but the fear inside Amit remained. After a while, when they looked out the window of Mehmet's house, they noticed the dark silhouette from the park standing in front of the house. At that moment, there was a loud knock on the door. Amit and Mehmet looked at each other in terror. The danger behind the door was now very close. As Amit and Mehmet huddled in the darkest corner of the house, desperately thinking about what to do, the knocking grew louder. With each knock, the door shook a little more. The two friends retreated to the most secluded part of the house, praying for this terrifying night to end.